Good evening, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the valedictory session of the two-day conference, Samvad, Global Hindu-Buddhist Initiative on Conflict Avoidance and Environment Consciousness. This conference has been organized by Vivekananda International Foundation in association with the International Buddhist Confederation and the Tokyo Foundation. We are honored to have with us today as our chief guest, Srimati Sushma Swaraj, Honorable Minister for External Affairs, Government of India. We are privileged to have with us on the dais His Eminence Kambalamba Dembarel, Supreme Head of all Mongolian Buddhists, Mr. Masahiro Akiyama, President, the Tokyo Foundation, Japan, Venerable Lama Lobsang, Secretary General, International Buddhist Confederation, and General N.C. Vij, Director, Vivekananda International Foundation. May I first request Mr. Masahiro Akiyama, President of the Tokyo Foundation, Japan, to kindly present a memento to our honored chief guest. May I now request General N.C. Vij, Director, Vivekananda International Foundation, to kindly render the welcome address and recall the proceedings of the two-day conference.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, once again. Honorable External Affairs Minister, Srimati Sushma Swaraj, His Eminence Khamba Lama Dembriel, Supreme Head of all Mongolian monasteries, Venerable Lama Lobsang, President, Secretary General of the IBC, Mr. Akiyama, the President of Tokyo Foundation, Dharma Gurus, scholars, delegates from across the globe, and ladies and gentlemen. I was talking to somebody yesterday that I am a journal, and almost 47 years of my life I have been practicing the art of warfare. It is for the first time that I have the privilege of hosting a conference where over 200 extraordinarily intelligent minds have been discussing and debating how to create a more peaceful world. And let me share with you, friend, it's been an equally enjoyable experience. Allow me also to say, of course, that in reality no soldier has ever wanted war. It is with immense satisfaction that I stand here to share with you the happenings of the last 48 hours. For us in the VIF and our associates, Tokyo Foundation and IBC, these 2 days have been immensely fulfilling. The conference not only met the objectives that we set out to achieve, but has also gone much beyond that. The rich scholarly discourse, innovative suggestions, and frank opinions expressed by all the speakers and delegates will certainly help us to take this initiative further. The fact that we got talking in itself is a clear indicator that the intelligentsia and the religious and spiritual gurus are aligned with this thought process in letter and spirit. As a matter of fact, the resounding speech of Prime Minister Narendra Modi set the ball rolling. He underlined the emerging dangers both to the world peace and also to the environment. Discussions were frank and honest, hearts were opened and ideas exchanged. During the presentations and discussions that followed, there was a consensus that the world needs a fresh approach to deal with the twin threats of violence and rising environmental degradation. This conference has given us the lead to pursue that path. I will now like to recall some of the major aspects that emerged. You will appreciate that the time does not permit me to narrate the entire proceedings of this conclave. Let's take the day one that was about conflict avoidance. It came out loud and clear that the teachings of Swami Vivekananda, which advocated establishment of peace and prosperity through interreligious relations, spiritual revival and religious harmony, are most relevant today. Speakers after speakers agreed with most venerable Sadhu Dr. Ashin Nainisaras that this conclave offered great opportunity to analyze the threats and challenges to the maintenance of world peace and tranquility. Her Excellency Mrs. Chandrika Kumaratunga, speaking from her own vast experience of going through a period of live conflict, stressed on the need to infuse spiritualism and morality as necessary at a time when materialism is at its extreme. She stressed on the need of adopting non-conflicting ideologies. Shri Gurumurthy and a number of other speakers stressed on the principle of everybody having the freedom of practicing their own religion without any interference from the others. As a matter of fact, it is only when certain radicalized elements try to force their own ideologies on others that it becomes a major reason for strife. The world needs to break the shackles of ideologies and strive for philosophical debate as a means to develop universal understanding. There was total consensus on the aforesaid approach. I come to day two with regard to environmental consciousness. This day witnessed a spirited and composite dialogue on environmental consciousness being the prime paradigm of socio-cultural cooperation and collective global action. The philosophical underpinning of Buddhist Dharma was stressed upon in reference to the protection of natural heritage and the pursuit of sustainable growth. The environmental protection could be possible only with self-awareness based on our ancient religious beliefs with respect to the Mother Earth. All efforts to enforce discipline through regulatory mechanisms are proving to be fractious. As a matter of fact, the root cause of this problem has been the overexploitation of natural resources. Now, when we have come to the last phase of this conclave, let me say that this marks the beginning of the process which will ultimately lead to world peace, improved environment, and better living standards. This is our earnest hope. We welcome the announcement by the President of the Tokyo Foundation that the next conference would be held in Tokyo in January 2016. 3 cheers to the Tokyo Foundation. I would also like to thank each and every one of you once again, ladies and gentlemen, for your very active and thoughtful participation. The success of any conference is always dependent on the intelligent and intellectual inputs of the participants, as was the case in this particular conclave. We would also like to convey our deepest appreciation and gratitude to the team of scholars led by Shri Gurumurthy ji, who conceived and constructed the entire concept of this conclave and laid down the intellectual roadmap for this conference. A word of thanks for our sponsors, Larsen and Toubro, TVS and Dalmia Group. Finally, without the unstinted support and hard work by my colleagues in the VIF, we could not have managed to hold this conclave. Their list is too long to mention their names, but allow me to mention two, Anupama Ganguly and Mr. Mathur, who really have worked their guts out. I also do hope that you were not put to any inconvenience, and if there has been any slip-ups, it was not for want of efforts. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, once again. And kindly do remember we are meeting at 8 o'clock for dinner. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to host you.
May I now request His Eminence Khamba Lama Dembrel, Supreme Head of all Mongolian Buddhists, to kindly address the distinguished gathering.
Эрхэм хувраг ламаа ловсон эрхэм гадаад хэргийн сайд Sushma Swaraj хотох тойлгаад хорсон хуврагууд хүндэт ноён татагтай нар болон ах эгчдүү нараа энэхүү цаг үеийн олсон чухал үйл ажиллагааг мянган бурхтын орон болсон Энтхэг улсад зохион байгуулж буй Энтхэгийн Вивананда олон улсын сан Энтхэгийн олон улсын бурхан шишний чуулган болон Японы Токиогийн сангийнханд чин сэтгэлийн талархлаа илэрхийлж байгааг хүлээн авна уу. Та бүгдийн цаглшгүй хөдөлмөр бэлэг ухааны үрээр эл сөргөлдөөнөөс зайлсхийх ба хүрээлэн буй байгаль орчноо анхаарах сэдвт олон улсын Хиндүү бурхан шашинтнуудын уулзалт нь олон улсын инх тайван хүндрэлтний сайн сайханд бие хувь нэмэр болно гэдэгт гүнээ итгэж байна. Мөн энэхүү хурлыг учир утгатай болгож буй хүрлцэн ирсэн хүм бүрд талхлаа илэрхийлье. Түүнчлэн миний биеийг хүрээлэн буй байгаль орчны талаар үг хэлүүлэхээр урьдсан зохион байгуулагч нарт баярлалаа. Ингээд миний бие өөрийн туршлагаасаа та бүхэнтэй хуваалцъя гэж бодож байна. Таалан болгоно уу. Тэгээд цаг хэмнэх хүүднээс миний энэ одоо орчуулдаг лам сайхан орчуулаа та бүхэнд хэлээд өгнө.
Most Venerable Lama Lobsangye, Your Excellency Sushma Swaraj, Honorable Minister of External Affairs of India, eminent Sanghas, Honorable Sirs and Madams, brothers and sisters. I am extremely happy to take this opportunity to express my sincere gratitude to Vivekananda International Foundation India, the International Buddhist Confederation India, and the Tokyo Foundation Japan for organizing this significant and timely event in India, the land of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Here, I firmly believe this global Hindu-Buddhist initiative for conflict avoidance in the environment consciousness will be a tangible contribution to the world peace and the welfare of the mankind. With your tireless efforts and wisdom, I wish to thank everyone who came to make this conference very important and valuable with your presence today. Also, I would like to thank the organizing committee for inviting me to deliver my words. So kindly allow me to share some words on environment consciousness. Historically, Buddhism was introduced to Mongolia three times since its first introduction over 2,000 years ago in Mongolia. But since the 19th century, since the 16th century, we count it as the third introduction of Buddhism. We have been following the education system of the Nalanda University of India, the ancient university. Some concepts of this Buddhist knowledge on environment associating with our old rituals formed a significant and unique tradition for the nature conservation in Mongolia, and Mongolian Buddhism and the environment consciousness have developed as inseparable in our history. Therefore, we Mongolians developed certain senses mentioned as below: sacred place, In Mongolian Buddhism, many mountains, rivers, lakes, and other natural sites are revered as sacred because either because they are seen as the residing places of Buddhist deities, protectors, and nagas, or because they are viewed as a Buddhist deities and protectors in themselves. These natural sites have been historically treated with utmost respect and protected by taboos. For example, trees and plants mustn't be cut within their vicinity, nor wild animals hunted. Sacred animals. Some mountains are found to be named after certain animals. The ecological significance is that there is a specific taboo on hunting or trapping of these animals on this particular site. While snakes and fish are considered animals of the nagas or the nature spirits, the hunting and harming, trapping and eating of any of these animals, such as deer, mountain sheep, wild goat, migratory birds, and other rare species, are considered sinful. There are also ancient beliefs that casting one's shadow or touching the nest of eggs of any bird is a taboo because the mother bird just discards her own baby for this reason. Hence, it's said that this act would cause the anger of the nagas. It is the basic consciousness every Buddhist has in Mongolia. As a result of these beliefs, some internationally endangered birds live comparatively unharmed in Mongolia. Ovo, mountain worshipping ceremony. Most of the ovos or mountains are believed to be the residing places of Buddhist deities, protectors, and subdued nagas in Mongolia. Even if you are not Mongolian, you can recognize a sacred Mongolian mountain or other sites. They are generally impressive, high features on the landscape, often with unusual shapes and supporting an abundance of the wildlife and fresh water sources. Many monasteries view the mountain worshiping ceremony to be one of the most important responsibilities from both a religious and an environmental perspective. Every year, monks perform these mountain worshiping ceremonies at the sacred sites with the support of the state government or local administrations and the lay Buddhist devotees. The president of Mongolia attends the worshiping ceremonies of mountains, most important sacred mountains of Mongolia. The significance is that Mongolian government protects the nature through its traditional approach. Sacred texts. The role of sacred texts or manuscripts in protecting the environment is a very special part of Mongolian Buddhism. After Buddhism became Mongolia's state religion in the 13th century, Mongolian scholars codified and incorporated core components of ancient pre-Buddhist traditions into a new faith, embracing, among other things, the worship of natural sacred sites. So, of the 600 or more venerated mountains and sacred sites of Mongolia, at least 300 have their own associated manuscripts honoring the local environment. More might once have had such references, but the texts were most likely lost in the communist purge time. These manuscripts helped preserve ancient ecological practices over the ages, some through describing rituals that would protect Mongolia from ecological dangers, others through offering prayers to the nagas to bring blessings and purify past misdeeds that disrupted the nature. Other through inviting Buddhas and deities to clear obstacles such as natural disasters and incursions of evil, some asking for the increase of sacred animals, finally some critically for today's ecological initiatives, describing taboos and outlining punishment, spiritual punishment. The mountain worship is one of the most popular methods of traditional nature conservation among Mongolians. Mountain is sacred texts or manuscripts are not only religious books for rituals and ceremonies, but they are also an valuable repository of wisdom derived from the Mongolian Buddhist culture. Even though this ancient Buddhist tradition protecting the nature was severely forbidden during the communist time, Mongolian Buddhists are today playing the most important role in bringing back the sacred Buddhist tradition for the nature conservation into the daily life of Mongolia. This is how we Mongolian Buddhists protected and trying to protect the nature through our belief. Moreover, in today's rapidly changing world, there are a number of challenges due to the development of mining. But we Mongolian Buddhists have involved in various projects with UNESCO, UNDP, NEMO, JICA, ARC, and the tributary fund GTZ, USAID in the field of the nature conservation. Conclusion. The greed for the external development without spiritual satisfaction is a crime of stealing the wealth from our own children of the future. As we both believe in the law of karma and rebirth, we Buddhists and Hindus should take greater steps to bring the awareness of the nature conservation to the world through our teachings and to inherit a better environment to our future generations. I believe we have the potential to do. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you. May now request our chief guest, Srimati Sushma Swaraj, Honorable Minister for External Affairs, Government of India, to kindly render the keynote address.
इसकी जरूरत इसे भी चाहे बंद कर दो, इसे बंद कर दो, लाइट बंद कर दो, ठीक है. His Eminence Khamba Lama Dambaral, the supreme head of all Mongolian Buddhists, Venerable Lama Lobzaga, Secretary General, International Buddhist Confederation, Masahiro Akiyama, President of Tokyo Foundation, General N.C. Wij, Director Vivekananda International Foundation, distinguished participants of this conference, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to congratulate the organizers of this conference for choosing a topic that is extremely relevant in the present context. Conflicts of various kinds and degradation of environment are a genuine cause of worry. Friends, I strongly believe that conflict avoidance and environmental consciousness are not independent from each other. They are inseparable parts of human existence. From time immemorial, the idea is very much embedded in our worldview and in our universe. We thrive with nature and we lose our own consciousness whenever we hurt or damage the nature. That is the reason culturally specific assumptions have been linked with the age of our ecological sensitivity since ancient times. Conflict avoidance and environmental consciousness are deeply embedded in Indian and Buddhist philosophy. Our scriptures have underlined the vital importance of these two vital concepts for the survival and progress of mankind. Our experience has clearly shown that without respect for human beings and Mother Nature, peace and tranquility of mind and space cannot be achieved. History has also taught us in no uncertain terms the perennial need for avoiding conflicts, physical or psychological, for personal, regional and global peace, and for the sustainable economic advancement of societies through protection of the environment. The global cry for avoidance of conflicts and consciousness about climate change is well founded, and future generations would not forgive us if corrective measures are not undertaken to save the world from these growing challenges. Friends, consciously or unconsciously, over the years, a kind of disconnect has emerged across our development theory, where nature is seen more as a factor of production rather than a valued asset. The idea of utilitarianism of Jeremy Bentham and John Stuart Mill had maximizing happiness as its focus with man at its center. This utilitarian approach, combined with several such theories from monetarist school of thought, eventually became basis of a framework that gave rise to what we know as the Washington Consensus. At different points, these theories and frameworks have been dismissive of nature as having only instrumental purpose. As a result, at different fora, now there are heated debates whether the loss of nature is crucial enough to cause climate change. If not, the business as usual goes on. The consequences are now extremely clear and up for all of us to see. If one scans the literature since the 1950s, scholars like Professor C.P. Snow and others have ascribed this to differences in cultures emanating from those following science and those following non-science approaches. Our scriptures have always shown respect and reverence for Mother Nature. Hence, since time immemorial, we have been praying, may there be peace in space, may there be peace in the sky, may there be peace on the earth, may there be peace in the water, may there be peace in the plants, and may there be peace in the trees. We also pray, may the winds bring us happiness, may the rivers bring us happiness, may the herbs give us happiness, may night and day yield us happiness, may the dust of Mother Earth bring us happiness, may the trees give us happiness, and may the sun pour down happiness. These universal prayers reflect our environmental consciousness and our deep commitment and sense of gratitude towards the nature and its protection. Unfortunately, today we are facing an alarming situation for the protection of our environment. Friends, as a woman, I also strongly believe that women generally end up absorbing most of the consequences of these developmental challenges. With the gradual loss of biodiversity, it is their livelihood, it is their security that becomes the first casualty. In urbanizing India, the story is not very different. Several studies in urban India show that the levels of pesticide content in mother's milk is much higher than from that of cow's milk. We notice that the challenges in the developed countries are also very similar. Last year, in a study in the USA, rising levels of glyphosate herbicide were traced in mother's milk. These were 10 times higher than acceptable limits. I am reminded of 1958, when a housewife from Illinois wrote to a scientist at the American Museum of Natural History. She wrote, I quote, "Here in our village, the elm trees have been sprayed for several years. When we moved in here 6 years ago, there was wealth of bird life. After several years of DDT spray, the town is almost devoid of birds. It is hard to explain to children that birds have been killed off." The first African woman to receive the Nobel Peace Prize in 2004, Ms. Wangari Maathai, in her acceptance speech said, and I quote, "Industry and global institutions must appreciate that ensuring economic justice, equality and ecological integrity are of greater value than profits at any cost. The extreme global inequities and prevailing consumption patterns continue at the expense of the environment and peaceful coexistence, the choice is ours." Unquote. Friends, I strongly believe that one major factor that has contributed to this is our growing disconnect with culture. I become very nostalgic when I think how my mother would insist every morning that before going to school, I must lay out the millet in the bird feeder and must pour fresh water in the bird bath for the birds. With every lunch, it was mandatory that 2 rotis would be made extra. One would be given to the cow and the other was for the street dogs. This was not just our house, but a practice followed by most families. Therefore, caring for the environment is and has always been an intrinsic part of our cultural values. Friends, soon the global community would be endorsing post-2015 development agenda, with new goals being called as Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. This testifies our collective commitment for bringing back culture in our development landscape. Goal 16 of the 17 SDGs is very, as it recognizes that sustainable development, democracy and peace are indivisible. We cannot achieve poverty eradication and sustainable development without tackling conflict and insecurity. Along with other goals, it acknowledges that there can be no peace without equitable development, and there can be no development without sustainable management of natural resources. SDG 16 emphasizes on peaceful and inclusive societies. Similarly, Goal 10, which talks about the inequalities across countries, is also likely to help restore global balance. The inequalities of income have widened across the developing economies and pose a major challenge to their social fabric. Unless it is managed by states in individual economies, globalization can produce such outcomes that will severely disorient societies and states themselves. Friends, you have dwelt upon conflict avoidance also. Let me speak something about that. Our scriptures exhort us to cultivate and nurture virtues like non-violence, that is, non-infliction of suffering on anyone through mind, speech and the body. They teach us purity, contentment, endurance, spirit of service, sacrifice, charity, humility, compassion, forgiveness, patience, absence of malice, pridelessness, and peace. Bhagavan Buddha had also taught us, I am quoting, "Goodwill toward all beings is the true religion. Cherish in your heart boundless goodwill to all that lives." Unquote. Wisely, he underlined that all beings long for happiness, therefore extend your compassion to all. Similarly, he firmly emphasized, hatred never ceases by hatred. By love alone they cease. This is an ancient law. His universal message to the humanity was, I quote, "Cleanse your heart of malice and harbor no hatred, not even against your enemies, but embrace all living beings with kindness." While delivering his powerful message for world peace, Swami Vivekananda said, I quote, "If there were fanaticism in the world, it would make more progress than it does now. It is a mistake to think that fanaticism can make for the progress of mankind. On the contrary, it is a retarding element, creating hatred and anger and causing people to fight each other and making them unsympathetic." Swamiji firmly believed that no civilization can grow unless fanaticism, bloodshed and brutality stop. No civilization can begin to lift up its head until we look charitably upon one another. And the first step towards that much needed charity is to look charitably upon the religious convictions of others. Nay more, to understand that not only should we be charitable, but positively helpful to each other, however different our religious ideas and convictions may be. Thus, the concise, clear and complete message of Swami Vivekananda is, I am quoting, "If anybody dreams of the exclusive survival of his own religion and destruction of the others, I pity him from the bottom of my heart and point out to him that upon the banner of every religion will soon be written, in spite of resistance, inverted commas, help and not fight, assimilation and not destruction, harmony and peace and not dissension. In this backdrop, it is highly desirable that we realize what international commitments and national legislations cannot achieve may well be achieved by our faith and beliefs in the oneness and love of all existence. Through this sane path, we can effectively deal with both the issues of conflict avoidance and environmental degradation. It is obvious and incumbent upon all cultural and religious leaders to play an important role in molding our mindsets towards conflict avoidance and developing for greater environmental consciousness. Here I urge upon the entire humankind to work towards evolving enlightened citizenship. This alone will provide hope, support, and inner strength to the masses all across transcending physical boundaries. We need the fresh wave of movement for spiritualizing humankind to rejuvenate its commitments to the fundamentals of compassion, consideration, and the idea of peaceful coexistence. We have no choice but to live with the core values of simplicity, restraint, empathy, generosity, and kindness, and well recognizing the interdependency between society and nature. Already, some inspired souls are actively engaged on this pathway in different parts of the world, and many of them are sitting here today in this hall. I bow before you, and I bow before them. Their hard work has given us hope in this arduous and uphill task. I repeat their message, which says, be united, speak in harmony, let your minds apprehend alike, common be your prayer, common be the end of your assembly, common be your resolution, common be your deliberations, alike be your feelings, unified be your hearts, common be your intentions, perfect be your unity. And in conclusion, I would like to pray for the all by saying, Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukh bhag bhavet, ma kaschit dukh bhag bhavet. Let all be happy, let all be healthy, let all see good things, let none be miserable, none be miserable, none be miserable. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for your illuminating keynote address. May I now request Lama Lobsang, Secretary General, International Buddhist Confederation, to kindly propose the vote of thanks.
Most respected Mahasangha, respected Honorable Minister for External Affairs, Srimati Sushma Swaraj, Your Eminence, Hampo Lama, the Supreme Head of Mongolian Buddhists, respected Venerables, leading light of Hindu and Buddhist world, dear friends and lover of peace and our planet. I thank you all for being here today and helping in making this conference such a grand success. I would especially like to thank our Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi, for spending some of his precious time with us yesterday and encouraging us with his inspiring words. I am also very grateful to our Honorable Minister of External Affairs, Srimati Sushma Swaraj, for kindly time of her from her busy schedule to be with us here today at this conclusive ceremony. Special thanks are also due to Honorable Minister of State for Culture, Tourism and Civilization, Mr. Mahesh Sharma, and Honorable Minister of State for Home Affairs, Shri Kiran Rijuji, who attended yesterday, for further motivating us their presence at the conference. The presence of many members of union minister and senior officials is proof of how serious the Indian government is about the two great challenges the humankind face today: conflict and environmental degradation. Dear friends, you will agree that the last 2 days we have extremely fruitful, especially because they have given us hope that we can still join force for and save ourselves from destroying ourselves and this beautiful planet that we all share home. And for this, we owe gratitude to Puja Swami Ravi Shankar, Most Venerable Dr. Ashin Nanasara, His Eminent Humble Lama Amba, and all other esteemed Hindu and Buddhist religious leaders, scholars, opinion makers, and philosophers from all over the world who have gathered here to share their precious thoughts with us. I am also very grateful to their excellencies, ambassadors and high commissioners, and other senior members of the diplomatic community representing their respective countries for the encouragement they have given to us with their presence. Ladies and gentlemen, please also accept my heartfelt thanks for being such a wonderful audience. I would be failing in my duty if I do not thank our wonderful family of organizers that has worked together over the last several months to make this conference a success. So I would like to place on record my sincere appreciation of the Vivekananda International Foundation, the Tokyo Foundation, as well as my colleagues and co-workers in the International Buddhist Confederation for the wonderful job that they have done. Last but not the least, I would like to express I cannot thank General Sahib, but I can express heartiest congratulations to General Rich, the director, VIF. This is his initiative, and it is under him, his leadership, this has been organized so far. He worked tirelessly. So, on behalf of all the participants who are here, I congratulate you, General Sahib. Thank you very much. And Japan Tokyo Foundation President, I'm sorry I cannot mention his name, and his eminent Humble Lama also here. Then I would like to, once again, I would like to thank all of you who have participated here in this conference. Since yesterday and full day, today full day, we're here. Tomorrow, most of them, the foreign delegates, are going to Bodh Gaya to participate there also, and then pray to the Buddha in the Buddhist center of, world biggest Buddhist center, the Bodh Gaya, the holiest place. So we are all going there. So once again, I would like to express my grateful thanks to all of you who have participated in this conference. Thank you very much. Bhavatu sabba mangalang rakhantu sabba devata sabba buddha anubhavene sada sotti bhavantu te bhavatu sabba mangalang rakhantu sabba devata sabba dhamma anubhavene sada sotti bhavantu te bhavatu sabba mangalang rakhantu sabba devata sabba sangha anubhavene sada sotti bhavantu te.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now conclude the two-day conference. I thank our Honorable Chief Guest, Srimati Sushma Swaraj, and all distinguished guests for being a part of Samvad. Thank you. Namaskar.